in the reference image here, we have two seat cushions, one for the back, one for the bottom, and they're generally a square or a sort of rectangular shape, but they've got some shape and curvature to them. So let's move this object roughly where we want it to be, and we'll imagine that the y-axis is the center. So if we mirror it, there would be one roughly this distance, or exactly this distance on the other side. In order to do that, we need our origin to be on that axis. So we will go up to Origins Transform, and we need to turn on snapping. So let's turn on snapping. Let's open up our properties and go down to Increment and Absolute Grid Snap. And on the X here, we can absolutely snap that to the grid. Okay, let's jump out of here and disable origins for now. We'll come back to that for the other pieces. And let's add a mirror modifier. Okay, so it's mirroring in the wrong dimension. So let's click on Y and disable X. Okay, and I think because we started from a plane that we originally had rotated, it's kind of working this way. So if we want to make this actually correspond properly, what we can do is press Control A and do rotation. Okay, and what that means is, if I undo those quickly, you can see it's rotated 90. But let's just reset our rotation. So it doesn't unrotate the object, it just acts as if this is the original rotation. And so what that means is when we mirror in the x-axis now, which is what we want to mirror in, it's showing up appropriately. And so let's go ahead and do that for these as well. So if I let's just freeze our rotation and our scale, set that back to 1. Okay. We can actually do rotation and scale together. And you can see it doesn't want to do that because it's what's called a multi-user object. It's an instanced object. So if you wanted to reset the scale, we would actually have to delete this, reset our scale. So now I can do Alt-D, hold X, and then just kind of put that in place. Doesn't have to be perfect. It will look good when we go to render. Okay. So this object, we have to do the same thing. We have to make sure our origin is snapped to the middle here. So let's turn on snapping. Okay, so this is correct. There we go. But, you know, obviously our object's not in the right place. So if we tab in, we can just move it. Oops. Turn on X-ray mode there to grab all of our vertices. Undo that. Let's just go in the front view. And so you'll notice when you are editing this object, when you move your geometry around, it doesn't affect the origin. The origin stays where you originally created the object. So that's why I can move the origin here, but then edit and move the geometry over there. So it's a little bit different from how I did this one, but it accomplishes the same thing. And so now we can essentially add that same modifier. So let's go to mirror, and you can see X is already selected, and now it's automatically putting that in the right place. Okay, and we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to add the origin for this, and this will be different. So this actually, this can't be an instance because it's going to be slightly different. It's going to have a different origin. So let's just move this in a position here. Okay. Actually, I'm noticing I might want to scale this just a little bit. Okay, let's go up and move that origin. Let's turn snapping on. And there are other ways to do this as well. For instance, I could snap the origin to the 3D cursor, which is already in the middle of the scene, but there's no wrong way to do this, as long as you're getting the origin there. So that way when you go to mirror, it mirrors appropriately. So let's go ahead and add mirror modifier, and there it is. Okay, so now we are going to do a Shift D. We have snapping turned on, so let's escape out of that, turn off snapping. And I did escape out of it. It doesn't undo the duplication, so just be careful you don't duplicate it, leave it there, and then duplicate another one. Yeah, always check to make sure that you're not creating too many of the same object. Okay, the origin is going to be pretty close, but not quite where we need it to be. So let's go in and modify those origins. Turn snapping on. Okay, there we go. And you can see, because I had duplicated an object with the modifier, this was already applied. So I didn't have to add that mirror modifier. Okay, let's hit save there. And so we've got a good start to our chair. Let's go ahead and add a cube and start working on, let's get out of origin mode here, start working on those cushions.